Before we jump in, let's take a look at the finished model. What you're looking at here is a full non-metallic metal finish on this Cubone Black Templar crossover. It's painted to read as dark steel. Don't worry if non-metallic metal feels intimidating. I'll walk you through the process step by step, starting from simple sketching and working all the way up to maximum highlights. I'm going to begin by focusing on the body armor, since this will set the foundation for the entire non-metallic metal effect. To start, I mix Black Stallion with Slate Gray and apply this as my midtone. This midtone is extremely important. It acts as the line of demarcation where both my highlights and shadows will branch from. Think of it as the backbone of the non-metallic metal effect. Along the trim of the pauldrons, I deliberately stagger this mid-tone placement. This irregularity will help sell the illusion of reflective metal later, once higher highlights and deeper shadows are introduced. On the breastplate, which has more limited surface area, I keep things subtle. Rather than overworking it, I apply just enough indication to suggest its presence and curvature without forcing contrast too early. Here are all of the initial sketches laid out together. Nothing here should look impressive yet. This is purely structural. Now it's time to start building the shadows. I take that original mid-tone mix and introduce more Black Stallion, creating a clear step down in value. Using a wet palette here is incredibly helpful as it allows me to control the transition and keep the paint workable. With that transitional shadow color mixed, I begin applying it to the areas of the armor that will naturally fall into shadow. I work with thin paint and overlap slightly into the edges of the previous mid-tone layer, so the transition reads smoothly rather than harsh or chalky. Anywhere armor plates overlap, I make a point to preserve the pure black in the deepest recesses. This helps clearly define the separation between plates and keeps the armor from visually flattening. If you accidentally catch some of the black, don't worry. We can always come back later to clean up and sharpen those separations. On the pauldron trim, you'll notice that the areas I intentionally left blank earlier are exactly where this shadow now goes. This is where that early planning starts to pay off, allowing the contrast to feel intentional rather than random. At this stage, the shapes should already be reading a bit cleaner, and once that's established, it's time to introduce our first highlight. For that highlight, I switch to pure slate gray. I apply it thinly and place it directly over the midtone, but this time I reduce the area of coverage. Think of it as keeping the highlight inside the midtone layer, rather than expanding outward. This reduction in surface area is what gives non-metallic metal its sense of controlled light. As I apply this highlight, I pay close attention to prominent edges, lightly grazing them with the side of my brush. This is especially effective on sharp armor edges where light would naturally catch first. On the hands and greaves, this becomes mostly edge work. A helpful trick here is to shape the highlight like a small cone that tapers downward, which gives the impression that light is striking and then quickly falling off across the surface. I also edge highlight the pauldron trim and then stagger this highlight along the flatter areas, especially where the trim curves. Lightly breaking up the highlight along the rest of the trim helps sell contrast and adds to the reflective quality of the metal. Throughout this step, I continue to pick out details like bolts to keep them visually engaging with the rest of the armor. Now with the whole model displayed, we can really start to see some life being breathed into this dark steel armor. At this point, I begin pushing the highlights further by introducing more white into my previous mix. Just like in the last stage, I place this brighter value inside the earlier highlight layer, continuing to reduce the area of coverage. This gradual tightening of shapes is essential for achieving a realistic non-metallic metal finish. Edge work becomes especially important in these later stages. Rather than spreading this highlight broadly, I focus on sharp edges and key contact points where light would be most intense. On the pauldron trim, I concentrate this brighter highlight primarily along the curves and outer edges, and I make sure to catch the curvature of each bolt as well. These small intentional points of light help reinforce the illusion of reflective steel. At this point, you can really see how this additional highlight level enhances the overall readability and dimensionality of the armor. Next, I move on to the chain links wrapped around the model. For the base coat, I mix Imperium Blue, Black Stallion, and Slate Gray to create a dark metallic tone. The addition of blue helps visually separate the chains from the body armor, while keeping them within the same overall value family. Then with a mix of Slate Gray and Arctic Blue, I apply a restrained midtone to the chain links, gently grazing over the areas where light would naturally catch. This keeps the texture readable without overpowering the darker base. For me, the skull belt buckle is another important focal point, so I treat it with the same care. I place shading and highlights according to the light source, ensuring it reads as a distinct metallic element rather than blending into the surrounding armor. Finally, by adding a significant amount of white to my mix, I place maximum points of light on select chain links. These sharp highlights are used sparingly, but they're critical for selling the reflective quality of the metal and bringing the entire non-metallic metal effect to life. And you can see the metal is really shaping up. I continue to add nuclear white to my armor highlight mix in order to place maximum highlights on the body armor. As before, I continue to reduce the area of coverage, keeping these brightest values contained within the previous highlight layer and concentrating them primarily along sharp edges and key contact points. This restraint is what prevents the metal from looking chalky and helps maintain a realistic steel finish. I then take a moment to liven up the highlights on the pauldron trim, as well as on the chain links and belt buckle. These final bright accents help unify all of the metallic elements and push the overall contrast just a bit further. Turning to the sword, I mix Imperium Blue, Black Stallion, Arctic Blue, and Slate Gray for the base tone. Non-metallic metal often feels like a bit of a wrestling match. It requires patience and control. Keeping your paint thin and your values intentional is crucial, because contrast is ultimately what sells the effect. For this side of the blade, which we'll read as the cool side, I apply this base tone starting at the bottom of the blade and carry it a little more than halfway up. I also place this color along the flat plane of the obelisk-shaped tip to establish the major light break. To begin building the highlight, I add a bit more Arctic Blue and Slate Gray to the middle, staggering this highlight along the base coat in a repeating pattern, base, highlight, rather than smooth gradient. This broken pattern helps create the illusion of reflective metal. I also follow the edges of the blade, especially along the central ridge and cutting edge. Once the shapes are in place, I use a very diluted version of this mix to softly blend between transitions without losing contrast. Continuing to build the highlight, I introduce a small amount of white. I first focus on the edges of the blade, then place this brighter value inside the previous highlight layer. After building it up with a couple of thin passes, I blend the transitions once more to keep everything cohesive. I repeat this process, each time reducing the area of coverage and tightening the highlight placement. Continue to step up the brightness until I reach the level of intensity I'm looking for. For the final highlight, the coup de grace, if you will, I mix ice yellow with the white and blend it into the existing highlight color. I apply this sparingly as a maximum point of light. The touch of yellow gives the impression of sunlight reflecting off the blade, adding a subtle realism to the finish. To begin the other side of the blade, I apply a full base coat of thin slate gray. Within that slate gray, I start working in zombie flesh, which has a soft beige tone. Because Cubone's skull will be facing the side of the blade, this warmer color helps sell the illusion that the metal is reflecting the bone surface nearby. I use the same approach as before, staggering the highlights rather than blending them into a smooth gradient. Then blending between transitions once those highlights are in place. For the final pass, I switch to pure zombie flesh, thinned heavily, and place it carefully inside the previous highlight layer. I blend softly between transitions until I reach the level of smoothness I'm happy with, making sure not to overpower the surrounding values. By shifting color temperature from cool to warm, now the blade feels like it's reacting to its surroundings rather than just being paint. And that's going to wrap up this tutorial on non-metallic metal. I really hope you found something helpful that you can take into your own future projects. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.